So, George, would you like to guide the slides, please?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, warm welcome, everybody. We would like you to just briefly share where you're joining from in the chat. Make sure that you are muted, please, and let us know that you can hear us clearly, and let us know where you're joining from, please. London, Lisbon, Leeds, loud and clear in Portugal. Excellent, thank you. From Poland, Argentina, Brighton, excellent. Andover, Toronto, look at that, wow, fully international crowd. Cambridgeshire, London, Basingstoke, Cardiff, amazing.
How do you get it to chat?
All right.
I just saw a message from Adam that there's people in the meetup saying that they are not getting the link for the webinar. So Charlie, I don't know if you could help out on this.
Area from York, Cardiff, brilliant. Thank you all so much for joining and sharing. If you could please make sure that your mics are muted while we do the general introductions. Especially that particular mic, it's that okay, looks like we ended up in a crisps bag. All right, good, fantastic. From Hove.
Guys,
nice.
I haven't used Zoom before. Can you tell me how to get at the chat?
Sorry, John, what did you ask?
How do you get at the chat?
Oh, there is a button on the bottom that says chat.
Ah, I see it now, thank you.
No problem.
It's Bristol. Okay, a few more people who haven't gotten the chance to mute yet. Wonderful. Ah, we are around the globe. This is brilliant. Welcome, everybody. Fantastic. Good. Rafa thinks the line is quiet enough. Shall we do brief introductions?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Ah, we have some colorful markups on the slides. Okay, why don't you get kick off and I'll see how we can clear that for now.
Okay, okay. So hello, everyone. My name is Rafa Ribeiro. People just usually call me Rafa, so feel free to do so. I'm a professional coach, an Agile coach, and currently working for Adidas. And my main focus and passion is bridging the psychology and coaching areas with the IT world. I also love my family, surfing, and photography. So that's pretty much it. What about you, George?
Excellent. I am an Austrian living in London at the moment. I work with especially digital creative agencies to help them improve their way of delighting clients while reducing staff burnouts. And been in London living for maybe 15, 16 years now. My wife is Portuguese, and we are working in a determined fashion, but still gradually, to move over to Portugal. And yeah, a few years ago, I had my coaching awakening, and since then I fell in love with developing the skill of professional coaching. So share some history with you, Rafa. And
this morning, and he again pleaded not guilty to the charge he's facing.
Okay. We are hearing someone's telly on the microphone. Could you please move your microphone?
That trial is due to take place here at Preston.
That's better, thank you very much. And yeah, over the last 3 or 4 years, went more in depth in coaching. And since early this year, I'm very fortunate to also get to work with AWA and share some of these coaching skills with the wider community. And so very excited to be here and explore a little bit together with you all what Agile coaching is.
Awesome. Let's do it then.
Fantastic. And before we get into it, and we'll share some of our observations and some thoughts that we had, we also wanted to find out from you, what do you think Agile coaching is? If you could please give us a short response in the chat, that would be lovely.
Everyone, please make sure you mute yourselves.
First response is it's tough. Yeah. Helping Agile teams perform better, focusing on delivering value early, optimizing flow, coaching with a focus on offering insights, guiding Agile teams, growing teams. Yeah, beautiful responses. Keep them coming. What else do you think? What more? Ability to respond to change, helping Agile teams figure out how to improve themselves, culture, performance mindsets. Yeah. Yes. It's a lot about listening. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, improving competence.
Guiding Agile teams to make progressive decisions. Yeah. Nice.
Great. Yeah. Principles, continual improvement. Yeah. Facilitate the support development teams.
Putting non-workers in the naughty corner.
Yeah, supporting the environment. Yeah, ensuring that the teams have a good environment where they can work. Yeah, beautiful. Nice. Excellent. Excellent. Removing impediments. Yeah, especially systemic ones. Fantastic. Turning an oil tanker. Yeah. Yeah, patience is a virtue of ours in the community. Yeah. Agile transition support. Beautiful. Yeah, excellent. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Yeah. Great. Okay. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, Rafa.
Yeah, I try.
Yeah,
go on.
We have some great experience here. So what we'd like to chip in from our side.
Well, if I can briefly look for some patterns and some most quoted words, I would put guiding, helping, and facilitating. I think these are the ones that appear a lot on the responses. So we have like the Agile Coach viewed as a support to the team. And it's interesting because in an Agile team, we have another role that should support the team, right? So we have the Scrum Master also. So how do they fit? Do they relate in any way? Do they work together? Are they the same person? So I'm pretty sure this is also a doubt that comes frequently.
Yeah, it certainly came up also in the pre-webinar questions. So yeah, we're going to look at all of those over the course of the time that we have together today. Right. Shall we start with the X-Wing?
Yeah.
Great. So we'd like to share this model with you. This is the Agile Coaching Competency Framework. It was created by the Agile Coaching Institute. So those of you who read Lisa Atkins' book, Coaching Agile Teams from 2010, will also find this quite familiar. And a lot of what you contributed in the chat is in some way reflected in this model. And we go into this just a very little bit now, just to give you a very brief introduction. But what we're seeing are 4 real core skill groups that we have on here. So we've got teaching and mentoring, as well as professional coaching and facilitating. So in teaching and mentoring, we are those who have some knowledge that might be useful to the team or leaders or the people that we work with. And we are interacting with them in order to help them take on board some of that knowledge and experience. On the right-hand side, we have professional coaching and facilitating as 2 other core skills. And the most important thing to note is that in these skills, no knowledge actually is being transferred from us to the people we work with. We're simply helping the people use their own knowledge and their own experience in order to solve what they're currently working through. And then we have subject matter domain areas. In the top, we've got the Agile and Lean practitioners. So this is all the great experience that you've accumulated over the years of working in a team or with a team or with multiple teams when it comes to Agile and Lean practices and background knowledge. And on the bottom, you have the 3 specialty areas of technical mastery in an engineering space. That would be engineering skills, but can also be, if you come from a user research, for example, background, your user research mastery. And we've got business mastery. So this is around value management, product development, the backgrounds that a product owner would be particularly strong in, for example. And then we've got the transformation mastery. So this is about business change, organizational development, all of those aspects. And one of the responses in there was there is actually a lot that is asked from the Agile Coach role. And when we look at that, yeah, there is a lot being asked from this particular role. And we as Agile Coaches have an immense opportunity to continue our learning, right? We've all been on our respective journeys, and it's a continuous learning journey. And when we look at this competency framework here, we actually have an opportunity to review how we are already doing on some of these areas and where we feel we might want to invest a bit more in our professional development. The one thing to close on this brief introduction from my side is certainly that from what I've seen, and Rafa, this is then very much open and invited for you to chip in on, is that in the community of Agile Coaches, I think we can serve the people and organizations even better if we are starting to see a bit more use of professional coaching skills. It can be even more, and it's very reassuring that we're starting to see more of that, but I think that's certainly an area where we could have a bit more. What do you reckon?
Yeah, looking at the model, not only there is a lot of different areas where you need a skill and to develop that skill, and the other really difficult part is to know when to use each skill. Like if you are talking with someone that needs more guidance and advising, okay, so I understand that I need to input with some more knowledge than if I take a coaching stance. So it's doubly difficult. So you have a lot of skills to learn, and not only that, you have to know when you should act as a coach, as a facilitator, as a teacher, or as a mentoring. And this is really, really difficult depending on the situation, because you need to quickly adjust, inspect, and adapt also on the skill and the behavior you have with someone or with a team, or even with an organization. And I think it will all depends on the maturity level of that person, the openness to question or to be guided or to be questioned about. So this is like really an extra difficulty that an Agile coach can have. And regarding the professional coaching increase in our work in general, the thing about transformations is that if there is not a will to transform, there is no transformation possible. And what we see currently is that many people want to achieve agile, but doesn't want to transform to be agile. So the coaching part could help a lot on bringing this awareness, not about agile, but about the need to transform that will someday make it possible to get agile or anything else. So I think the coaching is what opens doors to create that awareness that, okay, so for me to achieve that, I cannot achieve that as I'm currently am. I need to transform myself first, then to be able to achieve something like that. And this is where coaching for me enters.
Absolutely. And there might be some people who join us today who would like to get a bit of a definition of around what professional coaching as a core skill area actually is. So very briefly, professional coaching is in itself a profession, but it is also a body of skills, and it is rooted in the definition or belief that in a professional coaching conversation, two equals come together where one coach helps the other person discover through a creative and thought-inspiring conversation even deeper levels of thinking, and providing an opportunity for the coachee to make progress on whatever is currently important to them without influencing or steering or directing that other person. So simply helping the coachee take ownership of what it is that they might be discovering, and is therefore really useful technique for interacting with people to help them and compare how their behaviors, for example, are supporting their achievement of the goals that they have set for themselves. Mm-hmm.
And this is another conflict that an agile coach also have, because as a professional coaching skill, the coach does not have an agenda, but the agile coach have an agenda, especially for his employer, that, oh, we need agile and you need to help us achieve that. So also balancing this conflict of not having an agenda, but being almost like responsible for the agile agenda. It's also interesting dilemma, and we need to inspect and adapt again.
Yeah, and we have a great opportunity here as agile coaches, because by entering an organization or entering a system, we can have a general agreement of what the organization's agenda might be. And then the agile coach has the permission from the organization or from the system to use a set of skills that is generally orientated with supporting that transition. So then, somewhat quite natural, the question arises: where do we work as an agile coach, right?
Where do we work, George, in your opinion?
Where do we work? The suspense is killing us. There we go. So if we look at this here as an agile coach, we can work anywhere, right? We're not really restricted. It all depends on how do we get brought into the organization. Regardless of whether we're an internal coach or an external agile coach, we will have a certain introduction into the organization, into the system. And then we need to work out what the situation is and what the interaction points are that we can use in order to help shift the environment to make it more fruitful for teams to be able to thrive.
So it's basically aligning the, basically aligning the results, seeing if the environment support that results or not, and then also checking the behaviors if they support or not those results. And we as coach just reflect that reality and ask people, okay, what do you think of this? Is this behavior going to make this result possible? Or is this environment making that result possible?
Yeah. We would like to summarize this slide. So there's a message here that says that it's not entirely visible on the screen for all people. So on the left-hand side, we have organizational parts, right? We have the executive management, then we have the portfolio program level, we have teams of teams, and we have the team level. Alongside all of those, we also have certain governance structures that might exist in the organization, or certain enabling functions and support functions that might be useful. And we have the 4 core skills that we've just looked at before: coaching, facilitating, training, and mentoring on the right-hand side. And the diagram in the top includes the relationship between the results, the environment, and the behavior. And as Agile coaches, we work with the people, right? But we help the people to look at the processes and improve the processes. And the processes ultimately create the structures that determine the environment. And it's the structures in the environments that then create certain behaviors. And the behaviors of the people are then creating the results. So there is an interaction between all of those. But by only supporting the behavior of the people, we cannot really expect long-term improvements, because without addressing the structures in the environment, we will continually see the behaviors that are being created by those structures. So therefore, yes, we help people and review and retrospect on their behaviors, but we also interact with the people to help them improve the processes, and that then determines more fruitful structures of the environment within which we then see the behaviors that create even better results than before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So this is the short summary here is as coaches, we obviously prioritize people over process, right? It's one of our things that we like to say at AWA as a 3-word summary even of also the Agile Manifesto, where we have one of the values, of course, being individuals and interactions over processes and tools. And we very much prioritize people over process.
Yeah, because as coaches, we don't have power over processes, and we don't have power over people also. We just align the results the people themselves want to achieve, and question, is this behavior or this process and environment supporting that result or not? And only them can take the decision on making a change and what to change to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So looking at the time, I think we have another question that came from someone from the audience also, and maybe it links with what we are talking about, and it goes kind of like this. It's from João Tavares from Bold, and he asked how to integrate Agile on teams that have a current informal work process, like an informal structure, that is a result of many, many years of working in a particular way. And how can an Agile coach or a Scrum Master or a change agent overcome the current formal processes and create a culture on its own and affect that culture?
Excellent. That might be worth pulling up another visual aid for this. What do you reckon, Rafa?
Okay, yeah.
So we like to remind ourselves of all the cultural influences of the team with this team culture model that we have collected and created. And this is, if for starters, certainly a very useful reminder for us as coaches to review all the different aspects that can influence the team. Wherever we look at a team, we always want to ensure that there is a great strong trust inside the team. And with the trust, that trust can only develop if we have enough psychological safety. So we always need to work with the team to cultivate psychological safety. Mm-hmm. And by ensuring that we perhaps also with the team actually review what all these influences are, we can help the team become more aware and conscious of what is currently going on for them. So when we are dealing with a team, when we're working with a team that has been operating in a certain way that some people determine it organically grew their own version of Agile, then we can still help them to, through example or through professional coaching skills, help them retrospect on how things are going and help them to compare their version of Agile with what we see high performing teams do, right? So in a high performing team, we see these and those behaviors. How is it working in your team, right? And with that method of retrospection in the team, we can look at all of these aspects here inside the team or outside the team that might support or hold back the growth of this wall of safety and the growth of the productivity of the team and the health of the team over time.
So then again, if we can only reflect the reality and ask what they think about it, because if the team itself doesn't want to change their culture, it's not the Agile coach that will change it. It can be an imposition or like a demand, but not a real change, which is totally different. Like change comes from the inside and not from the outside.
Yes. Yeah. We're inviting improvement. We're not pushing change. And perhaps the key aspect here is self-awareness for the team. And as a coach, we simply create an environment within which growth is possible for the team. Yeah, rather than telling the team, hey, you should do this or that way. That wouldn't be very coachy. Yeah.
Does anyone from the audience has a question?
Hello, I have one question, if it's possible.
Totally, go for it, Lucas.
Yes, yeah, basically I have seen a couple of times that, for example, there are some people that has the belief that an Agile coach is like over in hierarchy or is like more important than actually a Scrum Master. And I have seen, for example, in some job offers that they say we're looking for an Agile coach and they request a couple years of experience like as a Scrum Master. I just wanted to ask your personal opinion on that. Is that true that an Agile coach is like better or higher in hierarchy than a Scrum Master? Because in my personal opinion, it's like they're both, they both have an Agile mindset, right? So I just wanted to ask you your personal opinion on that.
Great question, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, Rafa, do you want to start with your perspective and I'll add?
Since I have maybe a really controversial opinion on this, I would like to hear your first. And then
sure, no problem. Yeah. So Scrum Masters and Agile coaches are both servant leaders, right? We come from a mindset where we don't need any hierarchy because we just work with other people and we have fruitful conversations that help us to create more value together. And in my mind, there is no hierarchy between them. There is a difference in scope, perhaps, right? So as a Scrum Master, I had the opportunity to focus my entire attention on one team and could support the team, helping them become more self-organizing to remove their own internal impediments and support them by working in the organization to make the delivery of value ever so simpler over time, and become an advocate for adoption of Scrum in the wider organization, right? So acting as an organizational change agent outside the team and acting as a one team Agile coach, if you will, for this one team. And then when I moved on to supporting multiple teams, I stopped supporting one team as a Scrum Master. But I learned a great little thinking tool here from Simon Powers. He said, if you imagine that every person has a jar of jam, as a Scrum Master, I have one jar of jam, and I can use that to support one team, and they all get a really good helping of delicious jam. As an Agile coach, I would work with multiple teams, but I still have one jar of jam. So then I don't have as much attention per team that each has a Scrum Master. And then there is the role of the enterprise Agile coach, where you work with senior and top exec management and perhaps the board. And you still have one jam, so your support goes across the entire organization, right? So then improvements will be visible similarly, and the organization will take a lot longer than multi-team level compared to one team level. So it's more a question of scope, never a question of hierarchy. And that's my view on it. What do you reckon, Rafa?
Yeah, I'm totally in sync with you, and I prefer to think as Agile coaching as a set of skills and not a profession. A set of skills that any professional in general can learn. Like it doesn't have to be only a Scrum Master or an Agile coach, or even a product owner could take advantage of learning coaching skills or facilitation skills or mentoring skills or teaching skills. So I believe, as George was saying, is all about the scope, not hierarchy, and the impact you want to have. You want a deep impact or a broad lower impact, but never a question of hierarchy.
Yeah. A couple of friends of mine are technical Agile coaches. So they're the ones that I call when I'm out of my depth, because technical mastery is not my strength. But they come from an engineering background, and they have found themselves working with organizations, but they have strong technical mastery, and they've invested in learning professional coaching skills. And that's also a nice segue to another question that we've had here, which is related to adoption, where there's so-called resistance or reluctance in the team. And again, this is really where, as an Agile coach, we want to approach the situation with from a stance where we hold the people or the team in unconditional positive regards. They are acting the way that they're acting. They have reasons for that, right? But going there and telling them to do different or be different is likely only going to increase the resistance. So we are starting to really think about whatever the mindset is that the team currently lives, and we want to have an awareness of how long it actually takes to change our mindsets. When I discovered Agile, it took me a year of dedication to unlearn a lot of the things that for the 10 years before I knew to be true. And then another couple of years for the things to become really rewired in my neurological pathways, right? Some of the things that we're expecting to see, they do take time, but actually coming from a more professional coaching stance, where we invite reflection, where we invite for people to think about things differently, rather than to push certain processes on top of them, is a much more fruitful way to help teams reduce the resistance and appreciate the benefits of improving the ways that they are working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we have a lot of other interesting questions. I don't know if we'll have time to dig into the details of all of them now. So one asks, like, what is the difference between traditional coaching and agile or agile coaching that we are presenting here. Borrowing for George's also answer, it's also about scope. So traditional coaching started with the individual. So you have a really limited scope, but you have a really high impact. You have also many schools inside the professional coaching area. You have motivational coaching, life coaching, executive coaching, performance coaching, growth coaching. So they will all have different models or different processes, but they normally focus on the individual. Of course, some of these techniques started to enter also the organizational realm, let's say like this. And the professional coaching that we reference here is some techniques, mindsets, and tools applied to teams or organizations in an agile adoption. Okay.
Yeah. And when it comes to naming, few organizations that I got to work with, they also wanted to have a bit more flexibility for the different practices across the teams. So they've moved away from calling the Scrum Masters and start to call them team coaches, which is of course also there. Yeah, the Scrum Master is of course a role that is specific to the Scrum framework. Doesn't necessarily mean that the team is exclusively using pure Scrum. Some of those teams use hybrids, such as Scrum, for example. We've got another short one here. Where do Agile coaches fit with HR? It's a different role. It's a separate role.
Yeah, I don't know if the question was like, how do we work together with human resources? I think there is a question before that kind of like goes in that direction. How does Agile Coach work with HR? Well, I have an experience on this one, and it's the same as working with the team. Is first accepting the way they are and the way they work or they think about things, and then start questioning. Okay, so what are your results? What do you see is the current behaviors and the process that you currently have? Do these processes or behaviors help you attaining those results, or are blocking you getting there?
Yeah, so when we look back at where do we work as Agile coaches, organizational functions like HR and finance would be part of the enablers, and very much strongly influencing the processes, structures, and environments that we have in the organization. And the impacts that those structures have are very clear, because reviews, rewards, remuneration are all, and as well as performance, are all important influences. In your practice, you might have come across teams where individuals have individualized bonuses that are at odds with team overall goals. If we are unable to change that structure right away, and because it goes beyond the team and we don't have an influence there, then at the very least we can help the team become aware of that fact and help the team reflect on what the behaviors might be inside the team because of those individual bonuses, for example. Yeah. And then as an Agile coach, you could start to shift those internal structures. But if that, for instance, is too far away from supporting the teams, then an enterprise Agile coach might support you there, who would work with those functions to help them update them.
Yeah.
How are we doing on time, Rafa?
We are 1 minute, I think, past our initial time. So I think we need to wrap up. I thought like one last question, like just to state, probably not heard correctly. Agile Coach, indeed, a profession and well-known, recognized in the market. What I said is Agile Coaching, like the action or the set of skills can be thought as it is, like a set of skills and not a profession itself. Just to highlight that any change agent, or in fact any professional in the current area, can take advantage of learning those set of skills. Okay, you can be a scrum master, a product owner, a team lead, or just a team member. We need to also accept that not all companies have a flat structure and flat teams that we would like to be. So learning about professional coaching, facilitation, teaching and mentoring, and also the transformation mastery or the Agile Lean values can be of great help on your daily challenges. For example, you as a product owner, you cannot really get what the user wants. So maybe coaching techniques can help the user see what is the real problem there. And maybe you can use facilitation to bring the user together with the team so they can figure out the solution. So a set of skills, Agile Coaching as a set of skills. But of course, Agile Coach, a profession, a role, a job, as we all know really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so these skills here are the ones that, and yes, they would also be very beneficial to Scrum Masters, of course. But yeah, for Agile Coaches, those are the skills and competencies that would be really good. So shall we share the learning path now, or did we have anything else that we wanted to cover before?
Well, there are some really interesting questions, but I'm afraid we are lacking time. We had a really high demand on this one, so who knows, maybe we can organize the second one when we can have more time to discuss this.
Yes, yeah, awesome questions, very much so. And time with a subject like this, it's always short.
When the time is ending, we need to reduce the scope, right?
Indeed. So let's share. So of course you have the internet, right? The internet is full of useful resources and information. There are some great books available that you can use. What we have here is a course-supported learning journey that is drawing from the great work that IC-Agile did, collaborating with some great people in the community, and bring together a learning pathway. So depending on where you are on your journey, some of this might already be accomplished. So for example, you might have great experience, of course, in Agile, which when we look at Agile Coaches is the case for most. And when it comes to IC-Agile, there is a starter certification to acknowledge that, which is the Agile Fundamentals course. And then we go into the Agile Team Coach, where that looks a lot at how to learn professional coaching skills and fold those very naturally into the normal way of engagement of these skills that we've been talking about. And Rafa summarized it beautifully before. Bring those all together in a great way of interacting, but also looking very briefly at the training skill, the skill of mentoring, and just a little bit also the facilitation skills. But building on that, there is a dedicated 2-day course on facilitation skills. So actually so the fundamentals is a 2-day course. The Agile Team Coach is a 3-day course, and the Agile Team Facilitation is a 2-day course, where that looks at very specifically the facilitation skills of working not only with a team, but also looking a little bit more also at larger group facilitation, how to get a team to be self-organizing by really facilitating them through their workflow and their life cycle as a team. And then building on that are the enterprise level courses, where those organizational structures that we talked about are in the focus area So the Enterprise Agility Masterclass looks at all those structures and patterns that we have, but also looks back at the history to learn a little bit more about why it is that organizations are functioning in the way that they are functioning now, where all of that comes from. And then last but not least, but adding to that is then coaching for enterprise agility, where we're looking at how to interact with leadership in a lot more detail and help them to evolve on their journey, help them in their way of shifting the organizational structures. So the Agile Team Coach looks at multi-team and their environment, and the Coaching for Enterprise Agility looks at the wider body, the wider structures, the wider scope, where that jam jar that Simon Powers uses as an analogy is spread across the entire organization. So that's the course learning pathway. Anything you wanted to add that I might have missed, Rafa?
No, perfect.
Okay.
It's a series of like scope increase, but yeah, makes total sense.
Excellent. And we have a little treat here also for you all, as you wonderfully joined us on a Monday from so many places around the world. We have some classes coming up in London and Lisbon for the Agile Team Coach, the 3-day. And if you are inclined to join us for those 3 days of sharing a learning space with other fellow coaches and really going deep on neuroscience, mindset development, learning professional coaching skills, working out and practicing how to fold all of that into a natural agile coaching engagement, working with leadership, internal, external coaches, all of those things are in a super interactive 3-day course. Then here is a 10% discount code for you. Very easy to remember, Agile Coach. And here are some upcoming dates for you. So we'll late September, I'm looking forward to flying down to Lisbon, and Rafa is organizing a wonderful venue for us there. And then we're back in October, beginning of October in London, and we have beginning of November another course in London coming up as well. So those are the upcoming dates. And you can find all of those on the adventureswithagile.com website. So one more time, here is the code, 10% off with Agile Coach. Here are the dates, late September in Lisbon, early October, and early November in London. And all the courses are available on the website. So we also wanted to add, when we go back to the learning pathway, thanks Simon for the prompt, that the pathway also comes, of course, with the practice alongside the courses, right? So with some, as you need some agile practice in order to be able to help teams effectively as an agile team coach. Similarly, some of that practice is useful to have before you go on to the enterprise coaching level. So yeah, deliberate practice and continuous learning.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Rafa.
Thank you too, George. Lots of questions got unanswered. Feel free to contact us with your questions, and we will be happy to also help out.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thanks for your most active engagement on this webinar.
Thank you.
Have a great week. Bye.
You too. See you soon.
Thanks, Charlie. Thank you, Rafa.